Was creating the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic at Epic Universe a massive mistake by Universal? Hello everybody, welcome. With all the new speculation going on about a brand new attraction coming to Epic Universe, possibly in the Ministry of Magic, could Fantastic Beasts be on its way out at Epic Universe? It is no denying that Harry Potter is one of the most successful franchises in history. And with that success came the addition of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at their various theme parks, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Universal in Hollywood. And these additions to Universal's theme parks are largely considered to be Universal's biggest and smartest moves in the history of the company's theme park division. You might even argue that the Harry Potter franchise essentially saved Universal's theme parks. Universal Studios and their other theme parks were doing well, but they were having some problems. They were struggling a bit, and Islands of Adventure, which is supposed to be an amazing expansion and sort of savior of Universal theme parks in Orlando, going toe-to-toe with Walt Disney World, the opening of Islands didn't quite have the impact that they were hoping. In fact, Islands of Adventure ended up stealing some of the share from Universal Studios. But the addition of Harry Potter into Universal's theme parks completely changed the trajectory of the company and solidified Universal as a powerhouse in creating immersive theme park experiences. So of course, seeing more Harry Potter in their theme parks was always going to be in the cards. However, Universal stunned everyone when they announced that Epic Universe would be bringing the Fantastic Beasts franchise into their parks instead of more Harry Potter. Now, it is no secret that the Fantastic Beasts franchise has not been nearly as successful as the Harry Potter series, and in some ways has kind of ended up being a bit of a failure. When you compare the Harry Potter franchise, it's at about $10 billion at the box office. The last film on record for Harry Potter had 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has garnered an immense global fan base. Fantastic Beasts, on the other hand, has only garnered $2 billion at the box office. And though the first film did well with a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, all the subsequent films have been scored rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. And this has led to a disappointment of Harry Potter fans and really no establishment of a Fantastic Beasts fan base. So it seemed a pretty odd decision that Universal decided to lean into Fantastic Beasts and create this sort of 1920s Paris Fantastic Beast Wizarding World area instead of more Harry Potter fantastical realms. So when this first was announced, a lot of people were skeptical, a lot of people were a little bit concerned, not really sure what was going to go on with Fantastic Beasts and whether or not it was going to be successful. However, as more details emerged about Epic Universe, we quickly found out that they were creating something called Battle at the Ministry. And this was absolutely part of the Harry Potter universe and film franchises, not Fantastic Beasts. And they used this creative trick or this creative concept where you're entering in to essentially the French Ministry of Magic, and then you're taking the flu system to then be transported into the British Ministry of Magic from the Harry Potter films. So the entire Battle at the Ministry attraction is all about the Harry Potter franchise and has nothing to do with Fantastic Beasts. So there was a lot of positivity in that sort of creative concept that they came up with to say, oh, so it's Fantastic Beasts, the world, but the main attraction in this area is Harry Potter driven. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the fact that there is a time period shift that absolutely makes no sense with the flu system, so we're just going to put that aside, pretend like it doesn't exist, and just say, you know what, it's magical, time period, who cares about that? You can understand the concept of shifting the flu network from France over into the British Ministry of Magic. But they pretty much forced it in, which was an interesting choice, but I feel like it's worked pretty well. Now, they of course also have Les Cirque Arcanu, the main show in that space, and it's pretty good. That's a fine attraction overall. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a new permit for a 150,000 square foot building to be built and added, most likely from what we're seeing, into the Wizarding World Ministry of Magic area. This will be roughly the size of Battle at the Ministry. It'll be located just to the side over there near Les Cirques Arcanu. There's already a space, a facade for it. In addition, we know that the Wizarding World Ministry of Magic needs another attraction. They are really struggling with the capacity of Battle at the Ministry, only having one show, and there was always intended to be 2 attractions. So here's where it gets interesting. The current speculation around what that attraction could be is leaning towards this some sort of flying attraction, some sort of broomstick-driven attraction. We know that they had previously explored some sort of like VR type experience on a broomstick in a lot smaller space, and so there's been a lot of chatter online. That was canceled, that was put aside, and they ended up cutting budgets for the first release of Epic Universe. So there's been a lot of talk about, could this be a new version of some sort of broomstick attraction? Could be an indoor roller coaster, could be an indoor dark ride with screens and things like Monsters Unchained, but just maybe on a broomstick. Could it be some sort of Quidditch Cup type attraction? Could it have something to do with the Great Hall, because the Great Hall really isn't featured anywhere prominently in the Harry Potter attractions, any physical spaces? You can see it a little bit in the Forbidden Journey attraction, but there's really no physical set for the Great Hall, and that is an iconic shot, an iconic space in the world of Harry Potter. But here's the thing. If all the speculation, all the chatter, if that is ending up being true in any sense of the word, any fashion at all, that it is going to be some sort of attraction shaped around a broomstick riding experience, how can it be Fantastic Beasts related? It really just wouldn't make any sense. If you've watched the Fantastic Beasts films, you know that broomsticks are not really a part of those films. Yes, they are featured here and there in the films, but they are very rarely in these movies at all. It is just not a common mode of transportation. This is much earlier in 1920s. There was a lot older broom models back then. They just really were not prominent in those series. In the world of Fantastic Beasts, they have other primary modes of travel that they really lean on. The first is called apparition, which is the ability to essentially teleport using spells across long distances, short distances. However, overseas international travel is supposed to be really risky, and they don't do it very often at all. It is supposed to be nearly impossible to traverse long distances overseas for witches and wizards. We also have the portkey method of transportation. This has been featured in various movies. However, portkey use is strictly monitored, and creating your own portkey is illegal in the world of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. So this is not going to be a common mode of transportation. The most often mode of transportation in the Fantastic Beasts universe is Muggle transportation. Boats, trains, other vehicles to get from point A to point B like we would carry on in today's world. That is the most common used form of transportation in these films. It is not like the Harry Potter films when they're on a broomstick all the time flying around, magical cars flying around. It is not like that. And the very last form of transportation is magical creatures. And these are once again often used very sparingly because they can garner attention from Muggles. Some examples of this will be flying on like Bugby from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and the Thestral Carriage that we've seen in various films, including Fantastic Beasts. So my question is this: if this attraction ends up being something related to broomsticks, does this signal that Universal is giving up on Fantastic Beasts as a concept at Epic Universe? Are they sort of washing their hands and walking away from Fantastic Beasts and going back and leaning more into the world of Harry Potter? If they add another Harry Potter leaning attraction into the Ministry of Magic world at Epic, I think that signals Fantastic Beasts is dead as far as Universal is concerned. However, there is another possibility, and I mentioned it a few minutes ago. Could this new attraction not in fact be about broomsticks, but still be some sort of ground and or flying attraction using a Thestral carriage? As I mentioned, the Thestrals are seen and used in Harry Potter movies and Fantastic Beasts. There is a particular scene in one of the Fantastic Beasts movies where there is this sort of flying Thestral carriage. Now, there are also broomsticks in this same shot, but again, very sparingly using broomsticks. But the Thestral drawn carriage, albeit not necessarily very prominent in the films, would make sense in the world of Fantastic Beasts. This would make it some sort of flying magical creatures adventure instead of being a Harry Potter based flying broomstick attraction. And to me, this Thestral Carriage attraction would make way more sense in the Wizarding World at Epic Universe, being magical creatures related, being something that was used prominently in the Fantastic Beasts timeline as well as Harry Potter. The other thing about a potential Thestral Carriage attraction is you could see it holding a lot more people, moving a lot more people faster through the attraction than a broomstick attraction. A broomstick attraction, I think, is going to be difficult to move a lot of people through, and they need an attraction that's going to move tons of people quickly to sort of relieve pressure on the other areas of the park. Thestral Carriage, I feel like, is an easier way to make that happen versus a broomstick attraction, so could be that as well. So I'm really not sure what it is going to end up being in this attraction. We'll learn more. I can't wait to find out more. But as I just kept thinking about this like broomstick thing that keeps going around, I kept asking myself, like, if they do a broomstick thing, doesn't it have to be Harry Potter? It doesn't really make sense as Fantastic Beasts, in my opinion. I think if it does, they're going to have to shoehorn it in. And if it is a Harry Potter attraction, what happened to Fantastic Beasts? Like, why did they build a 1920s Paris all woven around magical creatures? You got all the wand experiences with magical creatures. You got Les Cirque Arcanu, the show. It is very much supposed to be the French area, French Ministry of Magic. They already shoehorned the British Ministry of Magic for the Flu Network there. I just don't think they can do that again with another attraction without essentially saying, Fantastic Beasts, we're done with you. We're going back to Harry Potter, which begs the question, if they do that, as magnanimous as 1920s Paris looks, I mean, those buildings tower above anything in Diagon Alley or Hogsmeade. The question then is, was it a mistake? Did they make a mistake leaning into Fantastic Beasts and building that area to begin with? Or should they have done something else, some other interesting magical area of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter? I don't know. I just wonder if Universal is kind of kicking themselves for that choice, or if we're going to end up seeing something like a Thestral Carriage as being a new attraction there. If they're going to keep leaning into Fantastic Beasts, but in a way that makes it interesting and awesome and great, and people have a lot of interest in the attraction, given the fact that Fantastic Beasts isn't nearly as popular as Harry Potter. So that's my video. That's my question. I'm curious as to what you think. I'm wondering, like, are you on the same page as me? Do you think it was the right choice for them to go 1920s Paris Fantastic Beasts? Do you think they should have done something else Harry Potter? I mean, I understand that they've already beat Harry Potter to death. How much more do we need? But it is much more whimsical, much more fantastical, it's way more popular. I'm just curious, what do you think? What happens if it's a broomstick? Do you think it makes sense? Should it be some sort of Thestral Carriage ride? So I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Are you in? Are you out with the Fantastic Beasts? What happens if they choose either one? Love to hear from you down in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. And until I see you next time, the noble way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.